Hello and welcome to my channel Making Crafts. Today I'm making a junk journal using junk mail. For today's junk journal I'm going to be using a kit from LineDotArrow, and she has an Etsy shop, and so I'm going to link the shop below. And this kit is a pretty good sized kit. There's 18 sheets in all, and it's some gorgeous prints on these sheets. So I'm really looking forward to using this kit to make the journal. Let me just show you some of them. It's got the little butterfly and bee. It's all kinds of prints. And then you've got some envelopes and some frames and pockets and tags and then more tags. So that's quite a big kit here. And I love mushrooms, and it's got mushrooms in it, so I'm going to have a lot of fun working with this kit. And I love butterflies. I always like to add butterflies to everything, and I don't have a lot of mushroom items, so I haven't added mushrooms to things, but I love the little mushrooms with the red tops, and this one seems to have quite a few in it, so I'm really looking forward to using this kit. And I will tell you, I printed several of the sheets on 32-pound copy paper, and then some of them on cardstock, depending on what I was going to do with them. To get started, we're going to need 2 junk mail envelopes, and my envelopes measure, let me flip this over so we can go ahead and get our measurements. But my envelopes measure 3 and approximately 3/4, just a little under 3/4 by 7 3/4, and it's just give or take a few little bits. But so these are what I consider smaller envelopes that come in the junk mail, but there are some larger ones. I have used those. It's 9 inches, but for today's project I want to use the smaller ones. And if you didn't have any junk mail, start saving your junk mail, or you probably could find some envelopes that you could purchase and make it, but I like just saving these. We're going to start out by covering our envelopes, and so I've chose which papers I want to use to cover my envelopes, and so this one I'm going to use to cover one of them, and then the other one for the other. So when we do this, I want to I don't want to cover up this window, because I want this window to be a feature in my journal. So in order for it to be that, I'm going to have to figure out how to cut around it. And here's how I found to be the easiest way to do it. I like to use my light box. And so this is a very inexpensive light box that I got off Amazon, and it seems to do the trick for me. So I like to get a pencil in my light box, and I just lay this envelope out on the light box, and then I'm going to take my paper and I got to figure out which way I want my paper to go, and so it's going to go like this. And so when I lay my paper on it, I want to be sure to leave 1/4 inch on the sides and on the bottom, so that we can fold it over when we wrap it around the envelope to the other side, and it gives it a more finished look. So approximately 1/4 inch. I may be going a little over 1/4, but approximately 1/4 inch. And I am using thicker paper today, so I'm going to make it as bright as I can. And then and I don't know if you can see on camera or not. I wonder if I could turn off one light and you could see it. There we go. Maybe I'll turn off the lights for just a second so you can see, and then I can turn those back on. So then you're just going to lightly trace around the inside of the label, or the window. I said label, but the inside of the window, so that we can cut that out. And you want to be on the inside so that you don't cut your window too large and then the envelope show. And I'm going to turn the lights back on now. So there we have it. So then you just want to take your scissors and just be sure when you push it through that your fingers aren't behind there, but just push it through, and then you can cut around the label, the window. I keep calling it a label, but you can cut around the window. And if you want to save this little piece and didn't want to do that to it, cut right in the middle of it, then what you could do is you could use an X-Acto knife, but I prefer using my scissors over an X-Acto knife, so that's why I am using my scissors. So you just want to cut it out, roughly cut it out, and then we can work on it to make it fit better and fix up the edges. Plus, I'm trying to make this look like an old nature notebook or field journal, so I want it to not to be everything to be so perfect, but that looks great, I think. And I don't know if I've mentioned, but I'm using 32 pound copy paper. I think that's what it's called. Let me look here. It's not called copy paper, it's just 30-pound paper. And so I'm using that to cover these with. I'm not using cardstock because cardstock gets a little too thick, and I'm hoping this paper doesn't get too thick. So let me move this aside for now. So that comes in really handy, and I think it was less than $20 on Amazon. So now if you've got any pencil marks, you'll want to erase those from around it. And I had just a couple. So we're just going to cover the envelope real quick. So I'm just going to apply some glue. And be sure just not to put any glue on your window because you don't want it to stick to the window. You just want to stick it around the window. And so you just want to put the glue. I like to put the glue on one side of the envelope and then just lay the paper over it. Give myself time to, straighten it up and everything, and then I can go back and add glue to the other side. And this makes it easier for me. So then you just want to press it onto that side and just press it down good so it gets good and tight. So now you just want to add the glue to the other half of your envelope. Just press it down. So once you have it like that, then we're just going to turn it over and we're going to cut. And you want to cut right here where, at the top of your envelope. You want to cut at a slant and then into cutting around the edge of the flap of your envelope, and you just cut right up to the edge of your flap. And then you're going to go back down and then cut at an angle again, and then just cut approximately 1/4 inch wide, about the same as the other side that I have, and just cut down so that you can cover it. Then you're just going to cut your corners across. Not cutting your corners off, just cut your corners across. And then we're just going to add glue and fold them over. And be sure to hold on to this piece, because if you're following along and you're going to make this like along with me, this is going to be, I'm hoping this is a very simple project that can be completed in just either a day or a weekend. Just a quick, this is just going to be a quick journal, and if this is a great journal. If you've never made a junk journal and you've been wanting to, this would be a great way to make one, just to put this kit together, and it doesn't take many supplies to create this one and get your feet wet in making junk journals. Once we get the glue, you just want to fold this over. And we're holding on to that because that's going to be part of the decoration for the inside of our envelope. So once you have it folded over, now we have to decide what piece of paper do we want to put on the front there. And I want to use this one with the bird on it. So I'm just going to cut that down to go on the front there. And let's just measure real quick. It's going to need to be 3 3/4 by 7 3/4. So I want to see what part of this I'm going to get in it if I do 3 3/4, because I really don't want to cut the little bird out. So I'm going to, let's see, that would be 3 3/4. I want the little bird in there. So I'm going to do it like that. And then I'm going to come back right here. And since the envelope is 7 3/4, I'm going to cut it 1/4 inch smaller. And I've already cut it down. So I forgot to mention that my printer will not print to the edge. It actually leaves a border, and there's no way to fix that. So I went ahead and trimmed all my papers out so that the border was gone. So now we're just going to apply glue to this, and just be sure that you do not glue your envelope shut here, because we're going to need it to stay open so that we can attach the next envelope to it. So let's just apply glue to this, and we'll apply it to the back. So before we add this piece, we want to look at our envelope and make sure that we have it turned up the right direction, so because this has a print, a directional print, and so I want this to be the top and this to be the bottom. And so you want to take a look, and you need to have, for the first envelope, the flap needs to be facing towards the right in order to be in the upright position. So this will be the correct way for it. So we're just going to add this to the envelope. So I kind of want to just center it up on the top and bottom, and then it's just going to come right up to the top of the edge of my envelope. If it doesn't on yours, if it's coming past it, just be careful, like I said, do not glue your envelope shut because our flap needs to go in there. So I love how that looks. These papers are just gorgeous, and I chose these on purpose because it was an envelope. I just thought that was a neat idea. And I'm going to take and I'm going to ink mine up with black ink, and I'll just show you a little bit here at the edge how that's going to look on this paper. I think it's going to look really good, and it does. So I will ink that later so that you don't have to sit through that. So now let's move on to the next envelope, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to take and get my light box, and I'm going to trace around the window here so that I'm sure to get my window cut out correctly. So once again, I'm going to lay the envelope down, and then I'm going to leave a 1/4 inch around it. I've now covered this envelope, so I'm ready to add the decorative piece to the back, and I'm going to be using this piece on the back. So once again, even for this one, what you need to do is be sure that your flap is turned towards the right. Make sure your flap's towards the right so that you have your page right side up. And as long as your flap's going to the right, you should have it right, have it the correct direction. So now I'm going to add some glue to this piece. So, okay, so I got that glued down. So now, make sure you don't glue your flap shut. So now what we're going to do is you're going to put your envelopes like this to each other, and so you're going to fold this flap towards the front, and then you're just going to slide it into your envelope like this. So let's do that. So we're just going to add some glue to the top of your flap here. And then we're just going to slide it into our envelope right here. And then we're going to add glue to the top of this flap, and we're just going to put it down in here. So I like to tuck it in first, and then I'm just going to reach in there and add glue to my flap. And you can do whichever way is easiest for you. So we're just gluing the envelope shut because we're going to cut the tops and make them into pockets. But I like to go ahead and glue these shut and then do that. So then you want to fold it over and be sure your edges are matching up, and then just score along that edge. Let me get my scoring tool. And there we go. We got it all pressed down. And then any of the white showing, we are going to ink that up. And I got a piece of paper that's come loose here, so I'm just going to glue it back down. So now you want to get your paper cutter, and what we're going to do is we're just going to cut a slither off the top of the envelope all the way across. And this is going to make us 2 pockets. And when we sew it, it'll be 2. Like right now, it's going to open up and you will have 1 big pocket. But once you sew down the middle, it's going to close it up. So now we want to take and decorate the inside. So I'm going to take, first, I'm going to take just to decide what I want. I want this, I think, on the inside, or I am thinking about maybe trying to decide what I want. And what you want to do, you can take your piece that you cut originally, cut out your window, and that way you can see if what you're going to put is how it's going to fit on the inside of your envelope. And so I'm going to use the bee on the inside of one of my envelopes. So I just want to be sure that I cut him big enough that he can fit in there. So I'm just going to cut around him first. Make sure that I cut him large enough at first, and then I'm just going to slide him down in there and see how he looks. So I'm just going to have to cut a little bit more off this side. And so we have our bee in there, so I like where he's at. So now I'm just going to glue him in. So I'm just going to run glue. Oops, sorry for that noise. I'm going to run glue along this edge and this edge. And I'm gluing him, I'm putting on the face of him because I'm going to glue him up against the label so that when you put your stuff in the pockets, it doesn't cover him up. And I'm actually putting it around all four edges, which is fine as well. That should be better than, I wasn't thinking it'd be better to go ahead and put it on all four edges. And be sure once you get him in there that you put your hand down and make sure you haven't glued your envelope shut. And then we're going to add the next one. And I'm trying to decide between this butterfly, which is kind of big, or this dragonfly, or maybe this small little, I do think I want the small little butterfly. So let's just see how he looks in there. And I like him in there, so I'm just going to put glue around all four edges and put him in there. And I got just a little bit glue on that window, but I'm not concerned because this glue dries clear, so it's going to be fine. It's already cleared up, so that's going to be fine. So I want to put my hand down there and make sure that I did not glue my pocket shut, so that way I can be sure that I do still have my pocket here, and I do, so there we go. So now let's decorate around these windows. And so I fussy cut out a few things that I think will look good on here, and I'm going to try it. And so the first thing is, let me see here. I'm thinking these are from the little, I think these are called book plates. I'm not really sure, but this is part of the kit. And so what I've done is I went and cut the inside of it using my piece that I cut the window out with. I used that to trace around, and I just cut this out, and now I'm going to attach it around the window. I think it'll help frame out the window some and give it a little bit more something to it. And I did ink the edges around the window just in case they showed just a little bit through this, because it was hard to cut this out because I was trying to save the butterfly that was in it. So I inked around the edges so that it kind of blended in better with this. And then I'm going to add this little plate here that was inside of it. I think it was something, I think it was inside of this one. And I'm just going to add it. And this was on the kit, just with the name of the kit. It said Treasures of Nature, but I think I'm just going to, I inked that up because I think that might be cute, nature, just glued to this here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to glue this little plate nature name tag here, or nature wording, I guess I should say here. And then I'm just going to wipe. I got a little extra glue, so just want to wipe that off. And just attach it there. And so then, for this one, I've cut out another one. And I'm just going to attach it here. And I fussy cut this out of the sheet that I had gotten some of these images from. So let me add this little frame. I got glue all over me. Let me wipe that up. So I'm just going to add this. Set it right here. And so this one I did cut small enough that there's none showing, so I did not ink around it. So I've just got like that. And then this is one of the little tags that come in the kit, so I'm just going to attach it there. And I have inked around the edges of some of this stuff. I've been using black and dark brown ink to ink around them. And so then I'm just going to glue this one on. Oops. I'm just going to attach it right here. Press them down good. And I like that. It's kind of like a little nature notebook or a field guide or something like that. Let me wipe the glue off my hands. So that's a start for our journal. So we've got the front and back of our signature decorated. So I want to go ahead and ink some of these spots to hide out the white that shows from the envelope. And I'm trying to see, should I do it with the dark brown or should I do it with the black? And let me see here. And I've kind of mixed these up, and I probably shouldn't be doing that, but I'm just going to ink it with black to kind of hide out the edges. But I'm also inking all the edges black because I think the black looks good with this paper. I got a piece of glue there. I think it just frames out this paper so good, as you can see on the front here. So just ink it really quickly, and then we're going to figure out the pages that's going to go inside of our journal. So I went ahead and gathered up some paper to use inside my journal. And so of course I'm using my kit pieces, and so some of them are printed on two sides while some of them are not. I like to have some white journaling pages in my journals, and I also like to have the white pages so that whoever uses the journal can collage on those pages and can decorate them up and do what they want to on them. So of course our envelopes together is going to be a lot smaller than the papers that I printed, but I have some ideas of how we're going to use these anyway without cutting them down. We're not going to cut all of them down. And then I didn't have any tea stain paper ready. Since I'm challenging myself to do this in 1 to 2 days or a weekend, to make this a weekend project so it's something you can complete fairly quickly, I am going to use some cream colored ivory paper that I have, and it kind of has like it's been stained kind of look. I don't know if you can see on the camera or not, but it does have like a little tea stain look to it. And I don't know where I got this paper. It's very old paper. And then I have some of these sheets I'm thinking about. They're really stark white, so I'm really thinking about should I use them or not. But since this is supposed to be like a nature notebook, a field journal, I really like this dotted grid paper for it. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but this is the dotted grid paper that I use in my planner. And so I really think this would be cool in it. So we'll see. So this is supposed to be a small little journal too. I'm going to try to not get too big with it. I always wind up making the journal chunky when I say I'm going to go small. And then I have this book, Birds of North America, and I don't know actually where I got this. I'm sure I bought it at the used bookstore, or either it was in the throwaway bin, in the free bin, but I think I might have bought it. But it was coming apart, so I'm using it for these journals. And so I'm going to try to figure out how to use these in it, because this owl page I thought would go perfect with the owls, and the birds and stuff go perfect with the theme of this journal. And so here is, there's different birds in the kit, so I thought, you know, I could try to use this. And I wish I had a field guide of mushrooms and butterflies and things like that, because I think a butterfly would be good, but the bird is the only one I have right now. So I'm going to use what I have. And so I'm going to set all this aside for now, because these will come in later. So let me set those here. So I'm going to take the first sheet, and it's printed on both sides. And so I know that my pages on each side need to be 3.5, so my sheet of paper needs to be 7. But I don't want to cut anything off my paper. I want to use it, the whole sheet if I can. And if I have to trim, I just want it to be a very little. So I've come up with some ideas of how to use the paper like that without cutting it down. So this one is 10.5, and when it's finished, if I were to cut it down, I need to cut it down at 7 and fold it in half. So what I'm going to do is, let me look at the print here and see which print is on which side. So I want this side to be the 3.5 side. So I'm going to put this at 3.5, and then I'm just going to fold over at that line onto the thing. And it doesn't have to be exact. I'm just trying to eyeball it here. You know what? I think I'll score it. I think that would make it easier to score it instead of just eyeballing it, because that way I can get it more accurate. So I'm just going to turn it like this, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cutting it up, so I want to do that on this side. So once you see the whole process, then you can do it to yours. So I'm going to score at 3.5. Okay, so this is the size that my page would be. So I'm just going to fold that over. And so if I was cutting this, and let's just make sure we're laying in our book before we go much further. And so, yes, and so that would fit good inside this little signature. And I actually think I could have went just a little bigger. So next time I may. I'm just going to leave this one like that for now. So now I just want to fold in this one all the way to the edge here. And let's see how that works out. And I may, like I said, have to cut just a little off, but I don't want to cut much off at all. Let's see here. So let's fold this in and fold it over. And I think that I will cut just a little bit off right there, just like 1/4 of an inch. Okay. So yeah, I'm just going to cut, actually I'm cutting a 1/2 inch off. So that's, I'm just eyeballing it and then seeing where I want it. So it's a 1/2 inch. So then what we want to do is we're going to cut slits across here. Let me find my scissors so we can do that. And so I'm just going to cut it, try to cut it into thirds. I'm trying to see, actually I'm going to cut just a little, about almost 1 inch across here, all the way up to the fold line. And then I'm going to cut, I'm looking here, then I'm going to cut right here, and then right here too. So I know this isn't a lot of, I'm not really measuring it out, and I'm saying right here, but you'll kind of get the idea. And so then I want to cut this flap off. I'm just going to cut off where I folded it, so I make sure it's smooth cut off. Had just a little bit left there. Okay, and then I'm going to take, and I'm going to use my circle punch, and I'm just going to punch a little hole, a 1/2 circle, out of the top here. And so then I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Trying to center it up best I can. And then this one. And then I'm just going to glue around 2 sides, the bottom here and the top. And then I'm just going to fold it over. And we're making little pockets here for our tags. And I'm trying to decide if I really, oops, let me get that one up. Do I want to put like this? Let me get my, wipe this glue off, it came through. Do I want to have another pocket here, or do I want to cut that one off and just have 2 pockets on the page? I think I'll just put all 3. So I'm just going to put a line of glue here, and then back up through here. Then over here. So now we have 3 pockets on our page, and let me show you with our tags that came in the kit. We can just slide them down in our pockets. And there we have. And there's a smaller tag too that comes with the kit that we could put in there. Let me see if I can find it. The smaller ones could fit in there as well, especially in the top one, I think. I don't know, it may get lost in the next. But yeah, so there we go. We have some tags in there. And that is our first page. And so we have that page to get us started. Okay, so I'm grabbing another sheet, and for this one I have scored at 3 3/4 here, and then again I scored at 7. So that way we have our page size, and then this is our extra. And so what we're going to do with the extra is I'm going to trim just about a 1/4 inch off of it. Maybe, let me see, maybe a little more. I think I will trim 1 inch off of this one. So we're still getting to use most of the paper, but this way we can get most of the print in our little journal. And so then I'm going to take and just fold this back, and I'm going to glue it at the top and bottom so we have a tuck spot. And then I'm going to go back through on these, and I'm going to ink around the edges. Just want to press it down, and there we have another page. So we have another page done with the tuck spot. So then we're going to take another page here, and I've got to decide which direction I want to go with this one. So we're going to score it again at 3. This time I'm going to go 3, a little over 3 1/2, so it's going to be 3 5/8. I'm trying to decide the size of my papers, and so they're all going to be a little different, but that's okay. So 3, and then I'm just going to score again right here at 3 5/8 so that they're both the same size, and then I know how much edge I have left. So I have that much edge right here. So what I'm going to do is for this one, I am going to cut it. And then I'm going to turn it over, and this one's going to go over here, but I'm going to, let me see here what I want to do with it. I'm going to tear it just right down through here, and then we're going to have a pocket on this side like that. So now I'm just going to ink those edges, then we're going to attach those to the page. And for you it's only been a few seconds, but for myself it's been a couple of days, and this is the first time I've had a chance to really get back to this project. So we've gotten several pages made, and so we're just going to continue to make some more pages for this journal. And so let me see here. So I think I showed at the beginning that I had pulled some pages out of my bird guide. So it's a bird field guide. So I'm just going to take this owl page, and what I've done is there's an owl page in the kit, and so I've cut this page down to just so I can fold it in half, and it will be one page in the book. And then I've taken the leftover piece, and I'm going to glue the owl page to it, but I'm not going to glue the whole thing. I'm just going to glue it right here at the top and at the bottom, and then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and stitch up the edge here. Or I'm trying to decide, do I want to stitch up the edge, or should I just stitch the sides and leave it as a pocket? So I got to still think about that, but I'm going to go ahead and add the glue to the top here. And just a little bit on each at the top and bottom, and then that'll leave it open for me to make my decision. And what I've done already is I folded this one so that I knew how wide I need it to be one page. And so I'll just go ahead and fold it here so I can line it up on this page good. And so that way it can be a page in my book. And now I'm looking at, just take a look and see what I think. If I really think I need to just, so when I sew down the book, it's going to be stitched down here, and then this is sticking up. Should I take and glue it down? Let's just wait and see, and let me think about that, because I'm not really certain how I want to do. This is kind of new to me to add it in this way, but I wanted to have this owl in the book, and so I thought it would be a good way to add is just to glue it to another page like that. The next one is just this owl page. I fold it in half, then is it going to, let me see where the line's going to be. So if I fold it in half, and I cut these at 7 1/4, maybe my owl will not be cut off. If he's going to be cut off, then I want to fold it differently. So let's just take a look. And he's not, so we're just going to leave him. I thought I had messed up and got him where I couldn't see him. So now I have thought for this page, I'm going to add a little ephemera piece like on the frame page that I have cut down because it was too wide for my pages since I'm making a smaller book. But I've cut it down, and let me make sure I've cut it down small enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to the side of my page here. So I'm just going to make a little tab and then attach it. So I'm just going to cut my tab just a little smaller than that actual piece. And I'm just using a piece of scrap paper for my tab. And so I normally just cut my tabs at 1 inch wide. And then I just fold it down the middle and attach one side to the page and the other side to the actual addition that I'm adding to the page. So I'm just going to fold this over in half. And I'm just going to add it to the page. And I want to cut my corners here. And then I'm just going to attach it. Let's see what side. So I want it to fold over onto my owl like that. And it looks like I need to trim this down just a little bit more. It's almost too wide. So let me just take a little off of this side, because I want it to be able to close up in there, and if it's too wide it won't. Okay, so now we're going to add it, and the back side has the butterfly, so I don't want to cover up that butterfly, so I'm just going to attach it on the front of the page, and then I'll attach this way. So I'm going to add it to the card first. I realized that I got to talking and I glued my flap to the wrong side of the page, and I already had plans of putting something on this page, so I'm just going to fix the error. I have this little piece that I cut out using a frame die that I have, and I was going to make a pocket here, so it's not, I can still do the same thing, but I will add this piece of paper first to cover up my mistake. And so that's the thing, if this is just paper, a lot of times you can cover up the mistakes, you can fix what's wrong, there's no stress. And I also could just go reprint it, but I'm just going to use this piece. I've already got it prepared, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. This will actually add to the decoration of the page, and it won't be as plain as it was going to be. So let me just cut this to the right length. Okay. Make sure I line that up. And we're just going to add that to the page. Let's see something to the right, see if it's got a direction, make sure. Yeah. Okay. No biggie. It's easy to do sometimes, get turned around, especially for myself when I'm trying to do something like this. Okay, so I'm just going to add that there. Just center it up. And I went a little over the edge there, so I'm just going to trim that off. Okay. And now let's add this. And so I've just got to figure out where I'm going to cut this down to. So let me see. I'm going to take a pencil and mark it so I know where I want it. So I just want a pocket here. And then I'm going to cut. So let's see where the bottom of this is. About right here. So let's line it up and make sure. So that'll be a good spot to cut. Then I'm just going to cut, actually I'm going to trim the edges once I glue it on so that I have it the right size. So I'm just going to center it up on the back here. And I'm just going to glue on, I'm just going to glue on 3 sides. The top, I mean not the top, the bottom and the sides, and leave the top open is what I meant to say. If I get my glue out. And I'm bringing the glue in a little ways because I know that I'm going to have to trim off some of that, so I'm trying to bring it in just a little where I've eyeballed it. So let's just take and add it down here at the bottom. I'm just lining up at the bottom of the card, and or the frame is what I should say of this card. And then I'm just going to press it down. Make sure I got enough glue in there. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my larger scissors and just trim off the excess. And now let's just add it to the page. So I'm just going to center it up, but I want it to cover the aisle so that when you open up you see him. So let me get some more glue on this. And let's just attach this here to the edge of the page. And I'm going to center it up and down on the page, I do believe. I like it better like that. Just eyeballing it. Let's see, make sure our page is going to close. Yes, it all seems to work out. And so now we have our little flap there. Let me find my bone folder. So there we have our little flap, and then we have a little pocket, and I've got to make something to go in a pocket, but let me show you how the pocket would work. Here's a little tag. And let's see, here's a bigger tag, but it would stick out too far on that. So I'm going to put something in like this. And so I'll have to see what it's going to be. So I forgot to add that I'm going to put this word treasures on the label here. This is just the title that came in the kit. And because the kit's called Treasures in Nature, and I'm just using everything in the kit. So I decided just to cut around these words and glue them in the book as well. And so I thought treasures was a good one to add. And what I'm doing now is just inking it with a soft brown just to give it a more aged look, and also to go along with that little brown plate, like it blends in better. And I think that's going to be cute there, and that looks really good. So let me get some glue, add that. I'm really enjoying working with this kit. I probably have said that already in the video, but I am. I'm loving all these little pieces and all the flowers, and even the little snail I didn't notice at first, but when I was cutting this out, I noticed there's a little snail there, and this just reminds me of a little nature journal or field guide, so I like that. For this page, I just cut, this is the paper, I don't know where the other half is, it was this, I've already started stamping this up, just trying some stamping out, but this was what this sheet looked like, and I have cut it to 7 1/4 again. And I fold it in half, and this page is going to just be a page in the middle of the book, and I'm going to after I sew, hand sew, I'm going to glue this one shut, and it'll be a pocket. And I'm thinking of, I found this in my nature journal, and it kind of looks like that bird. So I thought what I would do is turn this into a little pocket that will go down inside the pocket. So I just want to add some glue to it. And I'm leaving the edges kind of ragged like that, and I'll see if I don't like it eventually, I can just trim it off, but I kind of like that little textured look. So I am going to add glue to all that little rip texture so that it can hold it together. So that way it doesn't keep tearing. And then I'm just going to add glue to this side. Or do I want to get that kind of pocket? No, I'm going to make it an envelope. And there's a quick little envelope, and all I did was just fold a page over, and now we have just a little envelope that we'll be able to put inside this little pocket. I'm not going to glue this shut yet because I need to sew the book together first. The next page I'm working on is this sheet. And this is a beautiful sheet, and I was going to use it in my book, but where I'm having to cut my pages down so small that it's just going to cut off a lot of the pictures. So I'm going to fussy cut around this one and this frame, and then I'll be right back with you. So I've got these fussy cut out, and what I'm going to do with them is I'm going to make the tags for the inside of my envelopes. And so I've cut the tags 3 by 7.5 so that they will fit down into my pockets at the top of my journal. So then I'm going to add like a little lace or ribbon or something so that you can reach and pull them out. So for the first one, I'm going to take one of my book pages, and I've already torn this, and I'm going to add it, and then I'm going to add this frame here, and then I've got to decide if I'm going to cut it off or just wrap it around or how I'm going to handle it. So let's just go ahead and glue it on first and see how that looks. I try not to add glue all the way to the bottom since I know I got to trim it off, but I need to put it far enough I know it's going to glue down. Let me see if I got enough. Yeah, I got it far enough down. Okay, and so let me trim that off. Right there with the bottom. And then I'm just going to add this. And I really hate to cut part of it off, but for this journal, as small as I'm making it, I should have printed some of these pages smaller so that I didn't have to cut it off, but I still think it's going to look pretty cut off. So, just going to add that there. And then, what's it look like on the back side. There we go. So then for the back, I'm just going to add another rest of that page, I think. And then use up some of those scraps I was telling you about, because there's a beautiful flower right there. So maybe I could add that somehow. So let's just take a look and see what scraps I have. Actually, maybe not scraps. Maybe I cover this with this piece. Okay, so I'm just going to take, and I'm going to tear around the flowers on this page, and this was just left over where I cut off of a page. So I'm just going to tear around them, and let's see how that looks. Okay, so then I'm just going to ink that, and I'm not going to use this piece, so I'm just going to ink on top of it because I'm going to get another book page out. I don't like the shape of that piece. And this is, I'm just trying to make a quick, easy little journal, one that can be completed in a weekend, so that sometimes you have, well, if you want to make a gift, or you have a swap, or if you just want to make something one weekend and feel like you've accomplished something that one weekend, then it's good to have a project like this that doesn't take, a journal that doesn't take so long to make. Because I know a lot of my journals take me quite a while to make. Some of them probably longer than I should take on them, but so this is just one, hopefully one, if you haven't started junk journaling, that you could also make to get you going in making a journal. So I'm just going to glue this little flap down first, out of my way. You know what I love about these papers is that I feel like you could use these papers in the summer, spring, or fall. Really summer and fall for sure, because the colors in it are so good for that, and it just looks like it just reminds me of going on nature walks and nature journaling. I said I wasn't going to use that, but now that I'm seeing this side, I may well use it. I'm just trying to see how I like. I also have some of these pieces that were cut off from other pages, but I think that's going to be too busy and too much. I'm thinking it's going to be best to add book pages. Let me tear another one. I think I want, let me think how I want it to go. Let's just take a look if I turn it this way. Then I add this here. And then I do have some little butterflies that I've stamped and cut out that might be cute on it. Okay, so I'm going to start gluing down. I do like all this, so I'm just going to start gluing some of it. And then whatever's sticking over the edges, I'll just cut off. I'm not going to worry about cutting it till I get through designing it. The edge there. Let's press this down. Getting glue on my scissors. I'm going to go wash them off. Okay, and so thinking this here, I did, let me see if I can find them now. I took and stamped out some stamps from my 10 Holtz stamp set, and it's from, let me show you the stamp set that it's from. It's from this one. I'm not really sure the name of it. I'm trying to see. Oh, Stamp Collector. And so I've stamped some of those out, and I've torn them out, and I've cut some out, and I don't know if they're the right color though. I'm trying to look. I did some on some yellow paper as well, but I can't seem to find them. Okay, so I'm not sure where I left off. I was working on these tags to go inside of the pockets of the cover, and when I was working on it, my camera needed clearing off. So while I was taking the break, I decided that I wanted to also use LineDotArrow's kit. It's the ephemera kit that she has. It's vintage ephemera kit, and so I went ahead and printed it out and cut all the pieces apart, and I've added some of them to the pages here to see how it would look, or not to the pages but to the tags to see how it would look, and I like them on there. And so now I'm just going to finish gluing the stuff on, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to keep this solid or tear it. I think I'll keep it solid. So I'm just going to glue this little ticket, and this is in the ephemera kit of hers, and I will link it below as well, so that I think it goes well with this kit that I've been using. So I actually think the colors work perfectly with it, and it will go with a lot of different journals and themes and kits. So, and this butterfly is one that I just stamped and cut out earlier today, and it's just it's actually a stamp and die that came in a Christmas countdown that I got this past Christmas. Okay, and so I'm going to add, this is a tag in the, it's like a little ticket that's in the ephemera kit, And so I am going to just add it to the top there, so when I punch the hole, it's going to strengthen it up some. So I've just decided, and I like the looks of it up there with the writing on it. But let me see, I want it to just tuck down in the top of this right here. I just want to try to center it up, since my hole's going to be in the center. And then I'm just going to fold it over and glue it shut, and then I'll punch a hole in it later. If I may actually use that as the tab that we pull it open, pull it out of the envelope with. So there's that one, the front and back. And so now let's work on this one. So I've laid out some more pieces for this one, and this little card here is from the ephemera kit, and then this is from one of the pages. It was just a little scrap that was left over, so I just tore it off the page. So let me start gluing this on. I like how I had it laid out. My glue bottle is empty, so let me get a different one out. Just add a little bit more glue on there, and then I'm just going to add this to my tag. And then I'm just going to put this at the top here. I think I will just put a little bit of brown ink around the edges, just to cover up where I cut it. Oops, I grabbed the empty one. I think that would look cute up there. And then I'm going to add this frame, and I got to figure out where I want it to sit. I'm thinking right there would be good. And then the nest, where it says nest and eggs, I'm going to put that down first so I can put the frame on top of it. And this is going to be a two-part series, at least 2 parts. So I'm going to come back in the second part, and we will be making tags and pockets and just decorating our journal up. So I just wanted to get the pages together and these tags that go in the cover, the envelopes. Let's see this here. Just want to make it sure it's the right spot. Okay, and I think I'm just going to, let's see what it looks like if I just fold that over, or should I cut it off? I may just fold it, and then let me see what I could add to the back. I had a few pieces laid out over here, some scraps that I had torn. Let me see if any of these will work on the back. And here's another card that I cut out of the ephemera kit. So let me glue this down to the back here. I actually could leave the back as a journaling spot. I'm wondering if I should just add a little bit of something and leave room for journaling. I'm thinking I may do that. I'm thinking of leaving it like that so that you do have a place to journal on the back here. And then on the front you have a decoration. I know on this one I decorated the front and the back, but there is nowhere to journal on it, so I may need to add a flap or something so you have a journaling spot. So for the top of this one, I do need to put something for a tab. And I managed to put that before I got that got the butterfly glued all the way down. But I think I can tuck it right there underneath them. It's not totally dry. And then we'll just fold this up here. Then let me add some glue. I'm thinking of using these tabs. It's just the part that sticks out that you can pull And if they don't stick out far enough, then I'll add some sort of ribbon or something to them, lace, or I'm not sure what yet. Just glue that on. And I know what I want to add. I'm going to take and let me unglue that for just a second, and then I'll add it back down. I'm going to make a journaling spot back here. I'm going to cut this down to fit the paper. So what if I just glue it on and then cut it down? So let's just glue it. I'm going to use this glue this time for this type of paper. It seems to work good. Okay, so I've changed my mind while I was gluing. I'm going to use this piece of scrap right here. And it's some of that paper I showed you earlier that is, it almost looks like it's it almost looks like it's tea dyed. And so that's what I'm going to use on the back of this for your journaling spot. I think that will look nice with this. So I'm just going to cover up where it folded over. And then I'm just going to trim around to make it the right size that it needs to be. And let's add this tab back over. The tab needs to be, yeah, that's right. Okay, so I'm just going to add glue to that tab. We'll just fold that over. And now let's cut the excess off. I think that's easier than having to measure, so. And there we have our little tag, and I think those both turned out really cute. And so now these tags will fit in our envelopes, this is going to be our cover, and so we'll have tags in our cover here. So let me just put those down in there and see how they fit, and that way I can keep up with them. I'll have to take them out when I go to sew it. There we go. That's good. I like that. And thank you so much for watching. And if you like this video, please hit the subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be notified each time I upload a new video. And there will be a second part to this series. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.